With Charlotte Flair having an altercation behind the scenes with Becky, Lynch, and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for October 23rd. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. At All Out, QT Marshall took on Paul White, as some fans were not too happy about this match. While fans were excited to see the former Big Show back in action, they were disappointed about his opponent. On Wrestling Inc., QT touched on the criticism from fans. I know a lot of people were negative toward it. I don't know why, because Paul is humongous, massive star, no pun intended. Who else on the AEW roster would anyone be okay with Paul White beating on a pay-per-view? That's the one question nobody is talking about. I'm okay being that guy. I had fun doing it. I got to check off one of the goals on my list for 2021, which was to have a one-on-one pay-per-view match. Was it the most glamorous match in the world? If you're looking at one perspective, no. If you're looking at it from my perspective, I got to go out there in front of a sellout crowd with a first ballot Hall of Famer. The story leading up was great. We did great ratings on the way in because of Paul. I'm very fortunate that it has been given to me. I do my best not to strike out when I get up to the plate. White did tease lacing up his boots for Dynamite tonight, so we'll have to see what's next for the Giant. Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens were expecting to face off at WrestleMania 33 for the Universal title, but Goldberg took the belt from KO. This led to the bout being for the US title. After the match, Vince McMahon was not pleased. He went so far as to say it was the worst match in Mania history. On TalkSport, Jericho recalled that bout, with him adding that he thinks McMahon was hard on Owens because he was carrying some extra weight. He told Kevin it was the worst match in WrestleMania history. I never heard anything about that. When I came through, Vince gave me a thumbs up, so I think he was on Kevin's case at the time. I think he was going through a phase where he thought maybe Kevin had some extra weight that he wanted him to lose or wasn't happy with his work as a heel. Kevin is a very unique performer in that he's amazing and he's a bigger guy. Who cares? Mick Foley was a bigger guy, Vader was a bigger guy, Bam Bam Bigelow was a bigger guy. Didn't affect their work, they were still great performers, and Kevin is one of those guys. For whatever reason, Vince goes through phases where he just gets stuck in his craw and he gets pissed off at anything you do, and maybe that was one of his reasons. But yeah, the worst match in WrestleMania history, I was like, have you not seen Giant Gonzalez versus The Undertaker? While they are in different companies now, Kevin Owens will see his WWE deal expire in January, as he's expected to make the jump to AEW. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T talked about the issues within WWE, mentioning the one thing AEW has that WWE lacks. I agree with a lot of it, but the one thing I think even WWE, the company that I work for, needs to keep an eye on, one thing that I've always noticed is there doesn't have to be a whole lot of people there, but if you see it on television and it looks like it's a lot of people there and it looks like that everybody's having fun, you feel like you missed out on something. You're like, man, I wish I had been there. That looked awesome. It looks like they're having a whole lot of fun. It's got fuel to get bigger. That's the one thing that you cannot discount as far as AEW goes. On Busted Open Radio, Impact Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo talked about the relationship her promotion has with AEW, as she wants to have a dream match against the women's champion for that company, Britt Baker, so to have that crossover with the women and possibly wrestle someone like Britt or tag with someone like Britt, who is my best friend in real life, so that adds another element into it. It would just be very special for us, I think, as friends, but for women's wrestling too. And that's the whole point of all of this. It's to grow and evolve women's wrestling. We haven't had a lot of those first yet, so anytime you can kind of get your hands on that and claim it as your own, I think it's important these days. Baker has also been adamantly requesting a bout against Purrazzo for a while, but that match might not happen given the news that has come out. With Impact's Bound for Glory pay-per-view taking place tonight and many expecting Braun Strowman to make his debut for the company there, Ringside News has reported some unfortunate news for those hoping for matches between AEW and Impact Wrestling stars. As it was said, Ringside News has been told that AEW and Impact Wrestling's partnership is over after tonight's Bound for Glory pay-per-view. We're working to find out more information at this time. This means the companies will stop sharing talent after the event, as fans will certainly be hoping something can be worked out to fix this. With WWE and AEW going head-to-head during the Wednesday Night Wars and recently having SmackDown and Rampage go against each other for 30 minutes, there has been a perceived change in viewership influenced by AEW. The Wrestling Observer would note WWE's perspective. One person there did note that things are very different from before because unlike in the WCW, ECW, and WWF era, where fans may have had their favorite company but watched all three shows, this head-to-head showed, based on the first 30 minutes to next 30 minutes dropping, that statistically WWE going head-to-head did not show any measurable hurt to the AEW audience head-to-head. The WWE audience during the middle of Sasha Banks vs. Becky Lynch, when it should have risen, or at worst stayed even, did rise in total viewers, from 849,000 to 882,000 right as Rampage started, and added 663,000 new viewers. Yet WWE only lost 3.5% of its 18 to 49s and actually gained with older viewers. WWE dropped slightly in 18 to 49 from 287,000 to 277,000, but it rebounded to 293,000 during the Lesnar and Reigns segment. During Crown Jewel, Xavier Woods was able to realize his dream and become King of the Ring after defeating Finn Balor. Speaking to the New York Post, Woods had this to say about what is next for him. "I'm going to make sure that I have more opportunities in whatever realm I choose, whether that's in tag team or singles competition. I'll tell you right now, in whatever sense it happens, I'm gonna pop off. I'm about to pop off hard in a very non-traditional way, because if you follow my career, it's something that drives me and this is what passion is." During SmackDown last night, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair were in the ring to exchange their women's titles due to them being on opposing brands from the draft. Apparently, the two throwing the belts at each other's feet were not part of the plans. After the show, there was an issue backstage with Charlotte trying to disrespect Lynch and make her look bad, with them having loud and heated words exchanged. TalkSport had this to say about what took place behind the scenes. Flair walked away and Vince McMahon wasn't happy. Charlotte left Gorilla without talking to him. Flair is now heading to Orlando to support Andrade at AEW Dynamite. After the show went off the air, Charlotte's fiancé Andrade had a heated response to WWE on Twitter, as this situation seems to be the reason behind it. TalkSport would also note, the Flair-Lynch friendship has been strained for some time. People close to the situation say Flair didn't appreciate being called plastic during a promo a couple of years ago, and it's been tense since. Since the October 13th episode of Impact Wrestling last year, Kylie Rae has not been seen in a ring, which had to do with mental health issues. It was announced that she had signed with the NWA, but it appears she will be taking another break from wrestling, as she took to Twitter to give an explanation. "Due to unforeseen circumstances, I will not be able to perform at Freelance Underground and NWA this weekend, nor AEW next weekend. Unfortunately, I found myself in a relapse situation and need some time for recovery. This has been going on since late August, and has gradually regressed since then. I tried holding this in and working through the pain, doing my best to fulfill commitments, but it's become too much and needed help. I have been having a difficult time differentiating what is real and what is fake, especially in these types of environments. Regretfully, I tried masking the pain through marijuana and alcohol. I've tried to be as open as I can with all of you about my mental health struggles, but I was not being honest with the unhealthy coping mechanisms I adapted. For that, I'm deeply sorry. Graciously, with the help of loved ones, I've been working towards sobriety again. I was hoping things would get better by this weekend, but this doesn't seem to be a quick fix. At this time, I'm seeking further help, and am hoping to come back a healthier version of myself. I wanted to apologize for any issues this causes. I wanted to thank companies like Freelance, Freelance Underground, NWA, and AEW for being so understanding and patient throughout this time. Moving forward, I would like to express my gratitude for all of you and the contentious support and compassion you have given me. Whether you were able to understand or not, I always felt your empathy, and I can't thank you enough for that. With love always. Thank you, respectfully, Brianna Sperry. We wish Rae all the best going forward and hope she is able to eventually return to action." Following Mansoor's victory over Ali at Crown Jewel, former WWE star Ryback went on Twitter to take a shot at the promotion, saying, "Vince McMahon, you can give Mansoor Steve Austin's music and he still won't be over. Your product sucks." This would lead to Mansoor replying by showing the big guy's previous poll, where an overwhelming majority of fans told him to retire. Ryback would trend on Twitter, as fans eviscerated the big guy for his negative comment. While some called for him to retire from the social media platform, one person noted how awesome it was for Mansoor to school Ryback by not even replying with a single word. Going back to the issues with Charlotte Flair backstage, she apparently wanted to lose her Raw Women's title during her match against Bianca Belair. As TalkSport noted, staying with Flair, she also campaigned to lose clean to Bianca Belair on Monday Night Raw. She's understood to be a huge fan of Belair and believed the finish killed what could have been a big win for her. In an update on AEW commentator Jim Ross, he has taken to Twitter to let fans know about his condition, as he wrote, "On my way to Orlando for tonight's Dynamite. Skin cancer confirmed. Waiting on radiologist study to determine best treatment, likely radiation. Feeling great and ready to attack. Thanks for the support from so many." This is unfortunate news for the legendary announcer, as we hope he is able to be treated and move forward. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.